The wedding guests had barely left when Clara Bennett realized she had made the biggest mistake of her life. The grand doors of Blackwood Manor closed behind her with a deep, echoing thud. The sound rolled through the silent mansion like a warning. Every crystal chandelier glowed warmly above her, yet she couldn't shake the cold knot tightening in her stomach. Just 12 hours earlier, she had been an ordinary waitress, struggling to pay her younger brother's hospital bills. Now, she was Mrs. Clara Blackwood, the wife of one of the richest men in the country, a man the entire world believed had been blind for the last 5 years. As she climbed the marble staircase toward the master bedroom, every step felt heavier than the last. She wasn't marrying for love. She wasn't even marrying for comfort. She had signed a contract, 1 year as Adrian Blackwood's wife, in exchange for enough money to save the only family she had left. It sounded simple. Smile in public. Attend charity events. Never ask questions. Never enter Adrian's private office. And above all, never try to discover the truth about the accident that stole his sight. At least, that's what the contract said. Clara reached the bedroom door and rested a trembling hand on the golden handle. Her heart pounded so loudly she was certain someone on the other side could hear it. She took a slow breath, then pushed the door open. The room was breathtaking. Moonlight spilled across polished hardwood floors. A fire crackled quietly in the fireplace. Fresh white roses filled the room with their sweet fragrance. Standing beside the window was Adrian Blackwood, tall, perfectly dressed. His silver cane rested against the wall beside him. His dark eyes appeared distant, unfocused, just as every newspaper had described them. He didn't turn when she entered. "I heard your footsteps," he said calmly. "You hesitate before every important decision." Clara forced a nervous smile. "I suppose I do. You may come closer." She obeyed. Every story she'd ever heard about Adrian echoed through her mind. The brilliant billionaire, the mysterious recluse, the man who never smiled after the accident, the blind millionaire who trusted almost no one. She stopped only a few feet away. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Adrian quietly said, "Tell me something, Clara." Her heartbeat quickened. "Why did you really marry me?" The question struck her like lightning. Did he already know? Did someone tell him about her brother? About the debt? About the desperate deal she'd made? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Before we uncover what Clara says next, I have a quick question for you. If you discovered that the person you had just married was hiding a secret that could change your entire life, would you stay and fight for the truth, or would you walk away before it was too late? Let me know your answer in the comments. I read them, and I'd love to hear what you'd do. And if you enjoy emotional stories filled with shocking twists, unforgettable romance, and secrets that keep you guessing until the very end, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Now, let's get back to Blackwood Manor. Clara finally found her voice. "I married you because..." Her sentence died in her throat. Adrian slowly turned toward her. His face remained expressionless. His eyes still seemed empty. But something felt wrong. Very wrong. He took one deliberate step forward, then another, until he stood close enough for Clara to hear his steady breathing. She lowered her gaze, trying to calm herself. That was when she noticed something impossible. Adrian wasn't reaching for his cane. He wasn't feeling his way through the room. He hadn't bumped into a single piece of furniture. He had walked with the confidence of a man who knew exactly where everything was. A chill raced down Clara's spine. She looked up. For the first time since entering the room, Adrian looked directly into her eyes. Not past them, not above them, into them. His lips curled into the faintest smile. A smile no blind man should have worn. Then, in a voice so quiet it was almost a whisper, he said, "You should know something before this marriage truly begins. I've been watching everyone for months." Clara's blood turned to ice, because in that terrifying moment, she realized the impossible. Her husband, the blind millionaire, could see, 3 weeks earlier, The rain fell without mercy. Cold drops hammered against the cracked windows of a tiny apartment tucked above an old bakery on the east side of the city. Inside, Clara Bennett sat beside a narrow hospital bed she had squeezed into the living room after her younger brother was discharged. 16-year-old Ethan slept fitfully, his breathing uneven as a machine beside him beeped every few seconds. Dark circles hung beneath Clara's eyes. She hadn't slept more than 3 hours a night in weeks. She reached over and gently adjusted Ethan's blanket. "You'll be okay," she whispered, even though she wasn't sure she believed it anymore. A soft knock came from downstairs. Mrs. Alvarez, the elderly landlady, climbed the creaking stairs carrying a small bowl of hot soup. "I made too much again," she said with a kind smile. Clara knew that wasn't true. Mrs. Alvarez barely had enough for herself. "You don't have to keep doing this." The old woman placed the bowl on the table. "And you don't have to keep pretending you're not hungry." Clara lowered her eyes. For a moment, neither woman spoke. Finally, Mrs. Alvarez sighed. "Any news from the hospital?" Clara shook her head. "The surgery has to happen within the month." "And the cost?" Clara swallowed hard. $200,000. Mrs. Alvarez slowly sat down. Neither of them had ever seen that much money. "It's impossible," the old woman whispered. Clara forced a smile. "I'll find a way." She had been saying those same 4 words for weeks. They sounded less convincing every time. By 7 that evening, Clara was tying on her apron at Harper's Diner. The restaurant buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, and the smell of grilled steaks. To everyone else, it was another busy Friday. To Clara, it was another chance to earn enough tips to buy Ethan's medicine. "Table 12, shouted the manager. "I'm coming." She balanced 3 plates on one arm and hurried across the dining room. "Excuse me." "I'm sorry." "Right away." She smiled until her cheeks hurt. By closing time, her feet burned so badly she could barely stand. She emptied her apron onto the counter. A few small bills. Some coins. $28. She stared at the money, then quietly slipped it into her bag. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But, outside, the streets glistened beneath the city lights. Clara wrapped her thin jacket tighter around herself as she began the long walk home. Halfway there, her phone rang. It was the hospital. Her stomach dropped. She answered immediately. "Hello? Miss Bennett? This is St. Mary's Medical Center." Her fingers tightened around the phone. "Your brother's condition has changed." The world seemed to stop. "Is he okay?" "He's stable for now, but the surgeon has reviewed his latest scans." Clara closed her eyes. "And? The operation can't wait much longer." "How long do I have?" "No more than 3 weeks." 3 weeks. After that, no promises. The call ended. Clara stood alone beneath the pouring rain. Cars rushed past without slowing. People hurried home to warm dinners and waiting families. No one noticed the young woman standing on the sidewalk as tears mixed with the rain on her face. She had worked every extra shift she could find. She had sold her mother's jewelry. She had emptied every savings account. There was nothing left. Nothing. Then, a black luxury sedan rolled silently to the curb beside her. Its polished body reflected the city lights like a mirror. The rear window slowly lowered. An elderly man in an immaculate suit looked at her with calm, watchful eyes. "Miss Clara Bennett?" She stepped back cautiously. "Who are you?" "My name is William Ashcroft. I serve Mr. Adrian Blackwood." Clara frowned. "The billionaire?" "The same. I don't know him." "I know." The old man reached into a leather briefcase and removed a thick cream-colored envelope sealed with black wax. "This is for you." She hesitated. "I think you've mistaken me for someone else." "We have not." He held out the envelope. "Our employer has a proposal." Clara reluctantly accepted it. Her fingers trembled as she broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of expensive paper. The words were short, clear, impossible. Miss Clara Bennett, I would like to offer you a marriage contract. 1 year. In return, your brother's medical expenses will be paid in full. If you wish to discuss the terms. Blackwood Manor. 10 a.m. tomorrow. Come alone. Clara read the letter again, then a third time. Her lips barely moved as she whispered, "A marriage?" William Ashcroft gave a respectful nod. My employer dislikes repeating himself. But why me? For the first time, the old man's expression changed. It wasn't amusement. It wasn't pity. It was something far more unsettling. He specifically asked for you. A cold shiver ran down Clara's spine. She had never met Adrian Blackwood. She had never even seen him in person. So how did one of the richest men in the country know her name? As the black sedan pulled away into the rain, Clara remained frozen on the sidewalk, the letter clutched tightly in her hands. She had wanted a miracle. Instead, someone had offered her a bargain, and deep in her heart, she feared that every miracle came with a price. The following morning, Clara barely slept. The cream-colored envelope lay on her kitchen table, its black wax seal now broken, yet it still felt as though it carried a weight far heavier than paper. She looked from the letter to Ethan, who was eating a small bowl of oatmeal. "You look worried," he said, studying her face. She forced a smile. "I'm just thinking about work." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You've never looked this scared because of work." Clara laughed softly, hoping it sounded convincing. "I'll be back this afternoon, okay? Mrs. Alvarez will stay with you. You promise?" "I promise." She kissed his forehead, grabbed her coat, and slipped the letter into her handbag. But as she closed the apartment door, guilt settled over her like a heavy blanket. She hated lying to the only family she had left. An hour later, the taxi slowed before towering wrought iron gates. Carved into the stone pillars were 2 words in gleaming bronze. Blackwood Manor. The gates opened silently. As the taxi rolled up the long driveway, Clara stared through the window in disbelief. Perfectly trimmed gardens stretched as far as she could see. Ancient oak trees lined the path. Elegant fountains sparkled beneath the morning sun. And at the end of the drive stood a mansion so grand it looked like something from another world. It wasn't just a house. It was a kingdom. The taxi stopped. "You sure this is the right place?" the driver asked. Clara glanced at the letter once more. "I'm sure," though she wasn't sure of anything anymore. Before she could reach the front steps, the enormous oak doors swung open. Waiting inside was the elderly gentleman from the night before. "Good morning, Miss Bennett. Mr. Ashcroft." He smiled politely. "Mr. Blackwood appreciates punctuality. I almost didn't come." "I suspected as much." He stepped aside. "Please, follow me." The entrance hall stole Clara's breath. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings nearly 3 stories high. Portraits of the Blackwood family watched silently from the walls. Every polished floor reflected the light like glass. Yet despite all its beauty, the mansion felt strangely empty, almost lonely. As they walked, Clara noticed something unusual. There were security cameras in every hallway. Several guards stood quietly at different entrances. The staff spoke in hushed voices, as though they feared disturbing someone. Finally, she asked, "Does Mr. Blackwood always keep this much security?" Ashcroft didn't answer immediately. After what happened 5 years ago, he prefers caution. The accident? Ashcroft's eyes flickered toward her. "So you've heard. The whole country has. Everyone knew the story. A terrible car crash. Adrian Blackwood had survived. His parents had not. He lost his sight. And after that day, he disappeared from public life. No interviews, no parties, no photographs, only rumors." Ashcroft stopped before a pair of tall double doors. "He is waiting inside." Clara's heartbeat quickened. "Before I go in." She hesitated. Can I ask you one question? You may. Why me? For a brief moment, the old man's calm expression faded. I've served Mr. Blackwood for 28 years, and in all that time, I've never known him to make a decision without a reason. Will he tell me? Ashcroft looked toward the doors. I believe. He intends to. He opened them. The room beyond was breathtaking. Sunlight poured through floor-to-ceiling windows. Bookshelves stretched from the floor to the ceiling. A grand piano rested in one corner. The scent of fresh coffee filled the air. Standing by the window was a tall man in a charcoal gray suit. His back was turned. One hand rested lightly on a black cane. Without turning, he spoke. You may leave us, Ashcroft. Yes, sir. The doors closed behind them. Silence settled over the room. Clara's palms became damp. So, you came. His voice was calm, deep, controlled. I almost didn't. I know. Only then did he slowly turn. Adrian Blackwood was younger than she expected. Perhaps 35. Dark hair, sharp jawline, broad shoulders. His face was strikingly handsome, but there was sadness etched into it, as though life had stolen something from him long before the accident. His eyes were a pale gray, beautiful, yet distant, unfocused, just like the newspapers had always described. He inclined his head slightly. Please, sit. Clara sat across from him. A silver tea set rested between them. Without looking, Adrian reached for the teapot. He poured tea into 2 delicate cups. Not a single drop spilled. Clara blinked. Perhaps it was luck, or practice. She pushed the thought aside. I imagine you have questions, Adrian said. I have hundreds. He smiled faintly. Ask the most important one. Clara didn't hesitate. Why would a billionaire ask a complete stranger to marry him? He folded his hands. Because I have spent months learning about you. Her stomach tightened. You investigated me? I did. Why? You have no criminal record. You've never sold a story to the press. You've never accepted a bribe. You work 2 jobs. You've sacrificed everything for your brother. You pay your debts. And according to every person I interviewed, you are honest. Clara stared at him. You've been watching me. Yes, that's unsettling. I understand, but necessary. She leaned forward. You still haven't answered my question. Adrian's expression grew serious. My family expects me to remarry. The board of my company wants stability. The media won't stop speculating about my private life. I need a wife, but not a romance. A partnership. A contract. He reached into a leather folder and slid a document across the table. The terms are simple. 1 year. You will live here. Appear with me at public events. Respect my privacy. In return, he paused. I will pay every medical bill for your brother. Clara's eyes filled with tears. You already know about Ethan. I know everything I needed to know. She looked down at the contract. The amount written on the final page made her gasp. It wasn't just enough for the surgery. It was enough to secure Ethan's future, to pay for his rehabilitation. His education, even a home. It was more money than she could earn in 20 lifetimes. There has to be a catch, she whispered. There is. Adrian's voice became firm. If you sign this, you cannot walk away whenever you please. Until the year is over. The world must believe our marriage is real. Clara's hands trembled. The room fell silent. One signature could save her brother, or destroy her future. She picked up the pen, but just before the tip touched the paper, a woman burst through the office doors without knocking. She was elegant, impeccably dressed, and furious. Her icy gaze landed on Clara, then on the contract, finally on Adrian. So, she said through clenched teeth, this is the woman you've chosen to replace me. The room froze. Clara looked from the stranger to Adrian. He didn't appear surprised. Instead, he let out a slow breath and quietly said, I was wondering when you'd decide to come back." The woman's lips curled into a cold smile. "You should have finished the job 5 years ago, Adrian, because this time I won't miss." Clara's heart nearly stopped. What did she mean? And what had really happened 5 years ago? The room fell into a heavy silence. Clara remained frozen in her chair, her fingers still wrapped around the pen. She looked from Adrian to the woman standing in the doorway, trying to understand what she had just heard. "You should have finished the job 5 years ago." The words echoed inside her mind. Finished what? The elegant woman stepped farther into the office, the sharp click of her high heels breaking the silence. She looked to be in her early 30s. Her black designer dress fit perfectly, and every strand of her dark hair was in place. To anyone passing by, she looked graceful, but her eyes carried something dangerous, something cold. Ashcroft hurried into the room. "Miss Davenport, you cannot simply barge into Mr. Blackwood's office." The woman ignored him. Instead, she smiled sweetly at Clara. "You must be the replacement." Clara stood slowly. "I'm sorry, I don't think we've met." "Oh, we haven't." The woman extended a perfectly manicured hand. "My name is Victoria Davenport. I was engaged to Adrian before his accident." Clara's heart skipped a beat. She looked toward Adrian. His expression remained unreadable. "You never mentioned an engagement," Clara said quietly. "I didn't think it was relevant," Adrian replied. Victoria laughed. "Not relevant? We were weeks away from getting married. You told the world I was the love of your life." Then her smile disappeared. "And after the accident, you disappeared without a single explanation." Adrian's jaw tightened. "You know exactly why." For the first time, Victoria's confidence faltered, only for a second. Then it returned. "Oh? Then tell your little guest. Tell her why you locked yourself away. Tell her why you refused to see me." Clara felt as though she were watching two people fight over a truth neither wanted to reveal. Adrian finally spoke. "Leave us." Victoria folded her arms. "I don't think I will. I wasn't asking." His voice remained calm, but it carried enough authority to silence the room. Ashcroft stepped forward. "Miss Davenport." She glared at Adrian one last time. "This isn't over." As she reached the doorway, she stopped. Without turning around, she said quietly, "You can pretend all you want. But dead people have a way of speaking." Then she walked away. The office door closed behind her. Clara slowly sat back down. What did she mean? Adrian stared out the window. "I'll tell you one day. One day, if you sign that contract." She frowned. "You expect me to marry you without knowing what happened. I expect you to decide whether you're saving your brother or satisfying your curiosity." The words stung because they were true. She thought of Ethan, his tired smile, the medicine bottles lined up beside his bed, the doctor's warning. 3 weeks. She looked at the contract again, then at Adrian. "I have one condition." He looked toward her. "My brother comes first. If he needs me, I go to him. No matter where I am." Adrian nodded immediately. "Agreed. And no lies." For a brief moment, something almost like regret crossed his face. "I'll answer every question, when the time is right." It wasn't the answer she wanted, but somehow, she believed him. Taking a deep breath, Clara signed her name. Clara Bennett. The ink had barely dried before Adrian signed beneath hers. With that single signature, her life changed forever. That evening, Clara returned to her apartment carrying news she never imagined she would tell anyone. Ethan looked up from the couch. "You look different." "Do I?" "You look like you're about to tell me something huge." She sat beside him. "There may be a way to pay for your surgery." His eyes widened. "You found another job?" She hesitated. "Not exactly." "So, what is it?" She couldn't tell him the truth. Not yet. "I've accepted a private position." "What kind of position?" "It pays very well." He smiled with relief. I knew you'd figure something out." His trust broke her heart. The following morning, moving trucks arrived outside the apartment. Neighbors crowded the sidewalk, whispering among themselves as expensive black vehicles blocked the narrow street. "Who's moving?"